transition to our city council meeting, which I will call to order. And Patrick, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Roberts.
Here.
Councilmember Erickson.
Here.
Councilmember Valento.
Here.
Councilmember Husnick.
Here.
Mayor Bay.
Here. I'd like to invite everyone to rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Council, we have an agenda before you. I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose, and our motion carries. First item this evening is open forum. Open forum is any interested party's opportunity to address council on any topic of your choosing. Is there anyone signed up for open forum this evening? All right. Nobody in open forum will bring the agenda to council. And council, for your consideration, we have a fairly lengthy consent agenda. For your consideration are consent agenda items 6A through 6G. And I will entertain a motion to approve or any changes.
Madam Mayor, I move that we pull city bills out of the consent agenda.
Very good. And
What was
with
it
that,
The city bills.
Oh.
I'm getting a check.
with that, I would move that council approve items 6B through 6G. Is there a second?
Second. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
We have a motion and a second from Councilmember Husnick. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose?
Okay. Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve item consent agenda item 6A.
There's a motion to approve consent agenda item 6A. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any need for discussion of item 6A or just an abstention? Okay, very good. We have a motion and a second. No need for discussion. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain?
Abstain.
One abstention. Councilmember Erickson. Okay, with that, consent agenda is approved, and we'll move on to our regular agenda. Council, for your consideration is item 7A, which is Resolution 1211-2303, approving construction cost and maintenance cooperative agreements for County State Aid Highway 33. And Ryan, are you walking us through this?
Yep, Mayor,
Thank
City
you.
Council, within your packet is the cost share and maintenance agreement for the County State Aid Highway 33 or Everton Avenue Pedestrian Safety Improvement Project. The agreements have been reviewed by city staff, and the cost share agreement is consistent with what we've been discussing with the county on the local share per the cost share policy. The city's cost share as estimated is $1,309,630. 520 of that is sewer and water work, so the other funds would be state aid eligible, and that's how we've been budgeting the project and would be paying for our local share. Obviously, during bids that are anticipated to be open in January, some adjustments may be needed to that, but we do have our share budgeted for and encumbered already in our state aid construction balance. Project is planning for 24 construction, maybe some of it goes into 25. So this is stuff that we've been previously presented, just went through a bunch of edits and revisions. And here tonight, looking for approval of the resolution and open that with any questions you might have.
Very good. Thank you, Ryan. Council, any questions that you might have for Ryan this evening? Not seeing anything come forward. Initially, this was suggested by staff to be on the consent agenda and probably could be on the consent agenda. I pulled it and wanted it to be on a regular agenda just because it's an example of some of the state aid or the local aid dollars that we are paying on these projects, and just want to continue to highlight the size of the projects that are coming forward here in Forest Lake, especially in light of tonight's budget conversation. I think this project is very much in line with what we have been budgeting for, and some of the reasons for the levy that we saw this evening. I think we just need to continue to highlight some of these projects and want to give council opportunity to ask questions or if there was any. So, not seeing anything come forward, I would move that council approve resolution 1211-2303. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Oppose, and motion carries. Council, next in your packet are a series of ordinances. Let's take these individually. And we'll start with item 7B1, which is ordinance 730, which is the 2024 fee schedule.
Mayor Bay, and I can take this one if you like. Mayor Bay, members of the council, at your last regularly scheduled meeting, staff introduced to you the draft fee schedule that was based on recommended changes from department heads and some comments made by the council. There was only one change, two changes made since the meeting, I think it was the 27th. One is for land use permits and the specifically variance applications. The application would be reduced for residential homeowners, but be the same costs or fee for a commercial homeowner or a commercial property owner. And then additionally, both in building inspections and in planning and zoning, we've added in credit card processing fees. We expect to see an increase in our online permitting, given the fact that it'll come online in early 2024, and to help recoup some of those costs, as opposed to eating those costs, we've added that cost in as a kind of a processing charge that we would charge the applicants. So if the council is favorable tonight, staff would recommend that you move to approve ordinance 730, the 2024 fee schedule.
Thank
So
you, Abby.
those are the only two changes, right? Is it-
From what you saw at your last
okay,
meeting.
yeah.
Correct.
Very good. So note again, this was kind of a topic of a previous workshop, so if our discussion tonight is brief, it has been well vetted. Any other questions or comments on the fee schedule?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
just, not really having much history on this or knowing much, was this set base, is this comparable to maybe example of the cities that we used as a tax liner there? Is these fees, are they just, we've gone through these and we're in line with most communities?
Each department maintains its own fee schedule. I know that the city's community development department had done that prior to me coming on. I've been watching necessarily what the overall cost is associated with the city's processing of some of these development applications and zoning permits. I have looked at just comparable communities just within close proximity, and at least for my own department, it's fairly consistent. I do think, though, that in the coming years, you will see, for myself, in community development, proposing some changes just to help recoup some of the staff costs that it takes to actually process these applications, so.
As those changes come forward, I think it's helpful for council as we're making those changes to just be aware of what our benchmark communities are charging, and I never want us to be an outlier. That said, some types of projects cause a significant amount of staff work, and so for us to do some specific fees on that just makes sense. But I always want council to do that with awareness of what our surrounding communities are. So let's just bring that information to get forward together. Any other questions or points of comment on the fee schedule? I'm happy to entertain a motion if anyone's ready.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 730, an ordinance repealing and replacing City Code Chapters 35, fees and service charges.
The motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Motion carries. Next item is 7B2, ordinance 731, amending city code related to our alarm system fees, and Chief Newman is taking
Mayor,
this.
members of the council, this ordinance amendment just removes the dollar amount that was shown in the ordinance and moves that to the fee schedule as the keeper for the cost of that fee. It is important to note that under the intrusion alarm, previously that was $50 for the first, free for the first 6, and then above that it's $50, and then there's another, or actually the first 3, there's no charge. After that point, what was previously a $50 charge will be a $100 charge, and then after the 6th through the 12th, it's a $200 charge. And that brings that intrusion alarm, which is kept, is a police department issue, brings that or that fee in line with the fire department, which is 100 and 200 for the same amount of false alarms. Other than that, nothing's changed in that ordinance.
Thank you, Chief. Questions for Chief on the change to the ordinance? It makes sense to take that specific dollar amount out of the ordinance and get it into a fee schedule. And also, I appreciate if we have a certain number for free. After that, it becomes a nuisance, and there's certainly a cost of service, and so I am happy to support that change this evening. Anyone ready for a motion on this one?
I'd make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 731, amending the city code related to alarm system fees.
Motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? And motion carries. Next item this evening, ordinance 732, amending building code related to gas installer licensing. And Chief, is this also yours?
Yep, Mayor, members of council, this is to remove the gas installer's license. The city of Forest Lake installed this ordinance prior to the state of Minnesota having a gas installer's license program. So this is really a redundant ordinance. The state has this now in place, so we're removing it from the Forest Lake ordinance to basically not charge a installer twice for something that they already have through the state.
I appreciate the reduction of redundancy. Well done. I suspect we'll have high consensus here on council. Anyone ready for a motion on this one or any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 732, amending the building code related to gas installer licensing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? And motion carries. Moving on to the agreements portion of our agenda, 7C1 is the M Health lease. And Chief again.
Mayor, members of the council, this is for the lease renewal for the south building located at 21350 with Fairview Health Services. That is our ambulance service, M Health. And this renewal agreement, the prior one was a 6-year agreement. This is a 5-year agreement. The agreement is effective 10/1/23 and expires on 9/30/28. Some of the highlights with this agreement is a pretty substantial increase in rent. Currently, the rent is $2,350. With this agreement, the rent will move up to $3,817.17 per month. With this agreement, they'll pick up 1/2 bay more than they currently have for ambulance storage. They're currently at 1.5 bays. This will move them up to 2 bays. Fairview has shown an interest to someday take over the entire building. If we do get a public works building, because 2 of the 4 bays is cram-packed with public works trailers and equipment. And if we do eventually get a public works building, Fairview then is interested in taking over the whole building. Another thing that this will have is cost one share cost for capital improvement. So if we do a driveway, do the roof, do the siding, there's actually a split in that cost 50/50 with Fairview. We had that in the previous agreement, but the city of Forest Lake in that agreement paid the first $14,400 of that cost. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Perfect. Thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief?
So just a point of reference or a point to make here. So we toured the Public Works facility back in, I think that was July, and it was, quite crowded. There's no, the give and take, getting this additional rent, that doesn't offset maybe you being able to use that facility for more space, to put more equipment in if we're that tight on space it is right now?
Yeah, originally when M Health came, we sacrificed a bay and a half. That was the original agreement. We didn't want to give up a full 2 plus the building, so that was the original that we had moved out. We added a half of that bay, and the fire department now are storing our 3 light plants and 2 message boards that were jammed behind the ambulance, so. And I'm just moved storage from one place to the other, but, I mean, we have that building, we have the cold storage shed right next to it, we have 3 spots in the E-hangar, we have stuff underneath the water towers, we have some at the North Water Plant, and another $1 million worth of equipment parked outside, so I don't know if another half a bay is really gonna make a difference at this point. I mean, the rent's probably more than what it's, I mean, I think a lot of the rent is for the office space, it's not so much the bays, but really half a bay is not gonna make a difference to our storage problems.
Fair. Other questions, feedback points? I'm happy to support the agreement this evening. I'm thankful we've got the partnership we have with mHealth, and good we can get terms that are a little bit more favorable to the city on a renewing contract. Is there an appetite for a motion at this time?
I'll make a motion to approve the Fairview Health Services lease renewal mHealth ambulance agreement.
A motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All those in, any further discussion? All those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Oppose, and motion carries. The next item this evening is consideration of the CBRE listing agreement, and Abby?
Thank you, Mayor Bain. As noted in the packet, the city currently lists 2 vacant parcels that we have, one on Fenway Avenue in the Airport Business Park and Headwaters 123 off of Headwaters Parkway with CBRE. They are a commercial real estate brokerage firm. The agreements that we currently have with CBRE are set to expire. I think the one expired actually yesterday, and then the other is going to expire in April. So the request before you tonight is to extend those. I will note that the EDA did discuss this right before your meeting and are making recommendation to approve the agreement listing extensions. I do also want to note that I included quite a bit of background information in your staff report about the 2 parcels. Included in that is the fact that the city has received a PA for the Fenway parcel. The EDA has requested that they see that PA, and it will be on their agenda in January. So we're continuing those conversations forward about that. But tonight for your consideration really is the conversation about whether or not you want to extend that listing agreement with CBRE and staff, and the EDA recommend approval.
Thank you, Abby. Real quick, within the agreement tonight for the extension, should we choose to cancel that agreement early, there is no penalty to the city, is that right?
I don't believe so, but I do believe that there are some penalties if we ended up listing it with a different party within a certain amount of
Fair point.
time,
Fair point.
that we would still need to honor portions of this agreement.
Council, open for discussion, questions? Maybe, go ahead.
Well, I
Councilor
mean,
Hussain.
not knowing personally knowing the company, I mean, don't know if anybody would do anyone else would do any better or whatever, so I guess I'm comfortable staying with the same company.
Yeah, there isn't an immediate alternative on the table tonight, and so for that purpose, and because we can change, I will support this evening. I do have to say, as it relates to our city-owned parcels, I am open to a different path. And I'm glad that the conversation is going to continue with the EDA in January. I think as it relates to our city-owned parcels and the experience we've had so far, we need to kind of continue to keep as many options on the table as possible and make sure that we are aligned as a council and EDA on staff on what those goals are. And so I think the conversations coming up here in January will be good for that. Again, I'm supporting this evening because it's the option on the table and that's what we've had, but I just want it to be known I'm open to a different path. I don't know if anyone else has any other perspectives. All right. Motion, is there, ready for a motion if there's no further discussion? I would move that council approve the CBRE listing agreement as in our packet. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
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 Oppose? The motion carries. That ends our action portion of our agenda this evening. We will move into a quick discussion workshop session. One of my favorite times every year is when we hear the update from Bolton and Mink on their 2023 year in review. After that, we'll move into staff and council updates, and we do have a closed session scheduled this evening. So go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, Mayor, City Council, it's hard to believe it's that time of year already, but annually I like to prepare this 2023 or year in review, just to kind of show us and reflect on all the things that we might have touched. Obviously, it's not a comprehensive list of what the city's been involved in, but some of the bigger infrastructure projects and planning pathways that we went down, and just all the things that you really touch in a year that you probably don't remember some of them, or some of them you look at and you remember, whoa, that was a lot of difficulty and a lot of decisions moving forward, but successful projects now. And then just kind of highlight on some of the success we've had on the funding. And it's just a nice place to keep that, as, you know, I sent some of that to you this morning, and you, when we go back and look at, you know, how successful that has been, that's, you know, kind of an eye opener there. And then just to reiterate that one thing we always have committed to is being involved in the community, and want to continue to do so moving forward. So just thank you for everything in 2023, and enjoy the year in review. And if you got any questions about it, feel free to ask anytime.
Thank you, Ryan. Any questions for Ryan? I will just highlight, in preparation for our Truth and Taxation meeting tonight and our budget discussion, I did reach out to Ryan, looking specifically for a number for, I was trying to illustrate the amount of grant funding that we've received, or funding we've received outside of Forest Lake to support Forest Lake projects. And the project that came to mind was the Safe Roads to Schools project, and what Ryan sent me was a long list of all of the grant funds that we've received, as you should have. And I didn't include all of the detail in my discussions, just because to go through every, you know, item of grant fundings that's been received really became a very lengthy list and was kind of beyond the point I was trying to make. But I want it to be noted that it is sizable in what the work that is done by engineering and staff to ease the property tax burden on our residents, and it's very much appreciated. So thank you, Ryan.
I like to add as well that, you know, I know there's been some conversation about bringing engineering or a portion of it in-house. At some point, maybe that makes sense on that lower work levels type things. But Bolton and Mink's been a great community partner, and you talk about the grants. But one thing I want to call out here is just the community involvement. I mean, Ryan and his team, most of them don't live here, and the fact that they're still involved in all these things that are listed here is pretty impressive, and I appreciate that.
Any other questions or comments? All right, let's move to staff updates. We'll start with Addie.
I don't really have any updates at the moment, but I did want to just, I think most of the council was there. I know Councilmember Valento wasn't able to make the tree lighting, but it was very well attended. The work that Jamie Mouche had put in and the chamber, I think, was a great opportunity this year to kind of see what we could make that event. I think it was an overwhelming success. So I think unless the council has any opposition, we would continue to do it the first Friday of December, and continue to see how we can maybe not necessarily expand necessarily, but maybe be a little more prepared next year. We weren't quite prepared for such overwhelming success. So I see some heads nodding, so we're planning, I think, next week to meet with the chamber and debrief and start talking even about what we need to do for 2024.
Repeat weather night would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, that could have been a factor for it.
But it was a great event, and just appreciation for everyone that made it a great evening. I was concerned on a Friday night if what our attendance would be, and I think it blew us all away. So it was fantastic. Well done. Patrick.
I have no report. I just need to remind the council they have to decide if they're going to meet the rest of the month or not.
Fantastic. It is our tradition, so a question back to staff. Is there Anything on the agenda that would require us to have a meeting that first business day after Christmas, or are we okay to cancel that if
Not that we
council?
know of at this point.
Okay. So we have a tradition of this being, should the budget pass tonight, and we did pass a budget this evening, that we make this our last meeting of the year and reconvene in our first regular scheduled meeting in January. I'll speak for myself. I'm always happy to come in for a meeting if needed. That is always the case, but unless something comes forward that requires attention through the end of the year, I would say, let's take a breather and reconvene in January. Is there any feedback on that? Any opposition to that?
Well, like the airport commission, there may be a possibility we have a meeting,
100%.
special meeting coming up.
Boards and commissions
But-
continue to meet.
But that's
100%.
not the council,
Right.
you know,
Right.
so, and I'll make myself available for that, so it's no
Perfect.
problem.
Very good. Unless we hear differently from you, let's plan on canceling that meeting. Very good. Amanda?
Yeah, thank you, Council, Your Honor. Just an update on the House Fire 463 action that Council approved last month. We did hear from an individual who's in the process of purchasing that home. So we are still moving forward with the 463 action. We served the notice as we are legally required to do to the current property owners, but we are speaking with the buyer who is intending to purchase the property. It sounds like he is prepared to move quickly with demolition, and has been talking with the building official and myself and keeping us updated. He's having some difficulties with the bank as well, just getting, the documents together to close. But he understands that his deadline is basically January 1st, to get it closed and get it demoed. Otherwise, we will move forward with that 463 unless he can show that he's got, a contractor or something scheduled for sometime, early January. Then we would obviously work with him. So potentially, we won't have to move forward with that.
Perfect.
I know you're not asking for council approval, but I would encourage us that if we've got a willing party on the other side, let's be reasonable, and especially if communication remains high and
Yeah.
there's intent there.
Yeah, yes, Your Honor. Yeah, we are.
Perfect. Dave?
Just one update, since we can't get any cold weather at all, Public Works staff is gonna switch and work overnights, select crew to try to get the rinks flooded by Christmas break. The goal is always to try to have it open by then, so they're gonna work so if you see the lights on at Tower Park and at Belts overnight, they're gonna be flooding from 10 PM till 6 AM, and then full-time staff will try to flood until it gets too warm. So we got 2 weeks, so hopefully we can get it done by when all the kids go on Christmas vacation. So we're gonna try our best. We'll see what happens, but it's pretty much our only option when highs are getting into the 40s and 50s, so.
Yep.
It's my only update.
Very good. Thank you, Dave. Ryan?
No additional updates?
Right. Chief Peterson?
Yeah, Mayor and City Council members, good evening. Just one update. Next Monday, on the 18th, we are going to be collaborating with Walmart again for Shop of the Cop. So we're going to be, have many officers there assisting families with shopping for their families. And I just want to thank Walmart and Julie Griffin, who's putting this together and organizing it. And it's always a great event for us. That's the only update I have for you, unless you have questions for me.
Fantastic. Thank you. No, always a great event. Thank you for doing it. Chief Newman?
No updates.
Very good. Kevin?
No updates.
Very good. Let's bring it up to council updates. Councilmember Roberts?
None tonight.
All right, Councilmember Valento?
Nothing for me.
Councilmember Husnick?
Yeah, I attended the EDA meeting tonight, and we discussed, one of the things we discussed was the CBRE listing agreement that came forward here at the council meeting tonight, in the Southwest Forest Lake area study, and then, of course, the work plan development. So I'm sure Mara can expand on that. Also, I attended the airport commission meeting that occurred last week, and there we discussed what's going to be happening now with couple of improvements there. We're going to be extending a couple of taxiways, and that's all been funded with the state of Minnesota. And there's also going to be a SEAL program going on the taxiways and the runway. And then I brought up all of a sudden, you know, on public property, we need to deal with that. And we had at least two hangars that there's no apparent airplanes being parked in them. There's something else going on. So, and one of those fellows contacted me today, so I'll be getting together with him and get that straightened out. And so a couple issues that we're trying to get straightened out there. So otherwise, it was a good meeting, and that occurred last Wednesday. Thanks.
Councilmember Erickson?
No updates.
All right. No updates from me tonight, other than just to really, again, appreciate my appreciation to staff and councils for what's been just a really challenging budget year and getting kind of the hard work done to getting us to this point. I really appreciate it. And unless we hear differently from staff, we can plan on this being our last meeting of 2023. I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday season, and look forward to working with everyone in 2024. Based on tonight's conversation, we've got a lot of work to do, but I really appreciate the spirit that we're going into that work, so thank you. We do have a closed session planned, and so with that, I would move that council move into a closed session pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D05, subdivision 3B, for a confidential attorney-client discussion regarding threatened litigation regarding a contract dispute with Taylor West Properties for the downtown stormwater BMPs 0N1.126684. That being our last agenda item. After the closed session, we will come back into council chambers just to reopen the meeting and to adjourn. So there is a motion for a closed session. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Oppose, and we're in closed session. Thank you, everyone.